going to create just a little cube, and this is going to be representative of one of our little zombie guys. And we're going to add a component. We're going to make this a nav mesh agent. And I'm just going to leave my settings at default. You can see if I grab my environment and I look in the navigation tab, I've already baked the nav mesh. There are some walls here that have little holes in them, and those are the holes that the zombies are going to creep through as they come in and try to take over and hurt the stockpile. So you can see that the nav mesh has not baked the walls. I'll go ahead and turn on the outer wall so you can see what I'm talking about. Inner wall. So this is our full scene, and you can the idea is that the zombies will spawn at several different points outside of the wall, and you won't see them until they're about to enter. So they're kind of coming in at these different points. Okay, so we can turn that off because that'll make it easier to work. Okay, so now I will rename this cube. We'll just call this guy zombie. And we're going to attach an FSM directly to him to control where he's going to move. So we're just going to give him one state. It's going to be pretty basic. And that one state, we're going to give him a destination. So if I look under my nav mesh agent section, we can set the agent's destination as a game object, and we'll do that. And the destination that we want to give it, this is the stockpile. So whatever these zombies are after, they're in the stockpile. They're going after this. But the problem is going to be that we're going to be spawning a bunch of zombies into the scene. They're going to be spawning in as prefabs, and if it spawns in as a prefab, it's not going to remember this destination because it's going to be, when it goes to our projects tab, this destination will be cleared. It's going to lose the reference for the place that we want it to go. So when these guys enter the scene, we need to give them a destination because they're not going to have one. So we need to search for a game object by name. Let's see here. So I'll type in game object name. This is what we want. We want a find game object. So this will look in our scene, and we'll go ahead and type in stockpile here. So it's going to search for stockpile. And when it finds the game object called stockpile, we will store that as our zombie destination. And so now we'll use that variable as the destination for the game object. And I'm going to create something a little bit more thematic for this zombie so he doesn't look boring and gray. So I'll create a fresh material. And I'll call that zombie. And we'll make this kind of an undead greenish, maybe greenish yellow. Try that. So I'll go ahead and just assign this to our zombie. Maybe we can make it a little bit brighter too, so it's easier to see it during gameplay. Something like that. Okay. So this is going to be our placeholder. We will eventually replace with a nice looking zombie mesh. But for now, all this guy's going to do is wherever he spawns in the scene, He's gonna, right when he starts up, he's gonna search for the stockpile object, store it, and then he's gonna use that variable as his destination. So let's go ahead and give this a shot. I will move my zombie somewhere far away. We'll play. And so he is moving. He's looking for a way in. There we go. So he found a way in. And boom, he reached his target. Okay. Okay, great. So we have a single zombie, but we need to create spawn points for those zombies to start coming in at, because we're not gonna just place a bunch of different zombies on the perimeter and have the player slowly pick those off. We're gonna create a bunch of them that will spawn in after certain periods of time. So we're going to save this zombie as a prefab, and I'll go ahead and zero out his transforms, like so. And then I'll go ahead and pull it into my prefabs folder. So now we have a zombie prefab. And we need to start defining points where the zombie can start entering the game at. So I'll go ahead and create some objects that take care of that for us. I can go ahead and get rid of this guy. All right. So we just need to create some physical objects that will be our stand-in points. So this queue, I'll rename it to a zombie spawn. And I'm gonna need to refer to these cubes. We're gonna need to randomly get a couple of them. So I will create new tags so that we can choose between these various zombie spawn points. So I'll just do an add tag, and I'll call this a Z spawn. So this game object, I'm going to do a new material as well so that I know that it's going to be a temporary object that's going to turn off during play mode. So let's go back into the materials folder, and I'll create a new material, and we'll call this our temp object. Okay, so I'll assign it and we'll make it look very ostentatious so that we know. So I'll make it a transparent material, and I'll give it like a 50% gray for the alpha, like that. It's still kind of hard to see. If it's still, you want to make that more clear, you can give it some emission as well. Okay, cool. So let's move these guys around now. We have a bunch, well, we just have one, but the one is marked as a Z spawn. And I need to position these guys around where just out of sight of where the player would see them actually spawn into the game. So to help me figure out where to put them, I'm going to go back to my environment, and I'm going to turn on these inner walls that have the entry points. So I'll go ahead and position these guys just out of sight. So Okay, so there we go. So I kind of let me move this guy a little bit over. So I just don't want the player to see the objects popping in to existence when they've spawned. They're kind of just out of view. And I also made sure to put one like on either side of the opening so that they could creep in from the left or the right, just so it's not as predictable. So to keep this organized, I'm going to create an empty group. Zero it out, and I'll call this new game object the Z spawn points, like so. And then I'll just drag and drop all of those objects under the group. So now we're just keeping organized, and we're going to make it easier to work with all these game objects that are going to be taking up the scene. So okay, those are zombie spawn points. So we have a fire manager. Now we need a zombie manager, and that zombie manager will be in control of spawning these zombies at these various points. So here's our zombie manager. Boom. Okay, so the zombie manager, let's add a script. So let's think about some logic that's going to control how we spawn the zombies into the scene. So I think what we'll do is in that first state, we'll start off and we'll get a random game object. Well, maybe we don't want random game object. Let's see. We just want random object, not random game object. So any object that's tagged with ZSpawn, we will store that as current ZSpawn points. And the second action will, of course, be to create an object at that point. Create object. So the object that we're creating is that zombie prefab. Here is zombie. And the spawn point is going to be our variable that we just created, the current Z spawn point. So when the guy comes into the scene, the zombie is going to take a look at all these various spawn points, pick one at random, and then we will create a zombie, and he'll kind of start picking up on the nav mesh, and he'll start trying to enter and get to that stockpile. But we want to continue this event, right? We want to spawn multiple zombies. So we'll do this, and then we'll add a finished action. So the first state will just be our zombie spawn. And the second action will be our wait, right? So we'll just spawn the zombie. We'll wait for a short period of time, and we'll transition back and we'll create another zombie. So how long do we want to wait before we create a zombie? So how about, I think 1 second just starting off would be pretty good to experiment with. So let's give that a shot. So our zombie manager, spawn a zombie, wait a second, spawn another zombie. In fact, just to test this, let's chop this down. Let's do like 0.2 seconds. We'll get a lot of zombies going. It's our lovely little laser gun. Whoa, okay. So that 0.2 seconds created a lot of zombies. Way more than we can kill. So the 0.2 was for a different type of game. Maybe that one was for the automatic rifle. So instead of the 0.2, let's see. I don't want to bump it up to 1, but let's try 1 and see what happens. So, okay, there's one. So we gotta be vigilant here. Oh. Okay. So the one, actually, it's not too bad. I think this is creating enough zombies that we can deal with them using this pistol that we have set up here. Okay. So that spawn manager, that's working just the way that we want it to, and our zombie is also working pretty good. So it's finding that stockpile based on its name, and it's going to store it, and it'll send the zombie after the variable that the stockpile gets stored into.